Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So this is the 11th meeting we're doing, and today we'll be start talking about the conditions of the prayers. The conditions of the prayers are things we do before actually entering to the prayer. And as I differentiated for you before, that there's a difference between a prayer and a supplication in Islam. A supplication is something you do and it's when you're supplicating, asking, talking with God, with Allah. A prayer is the actual thing that we do 5 days, 5 times a day, and it is physical with the other things like reading the Quran, the dhikr, the supplication, and so on. To do the prayer, we actually have things need to be met before entering to the prayer. So we have two things. We have conditions of obligation, and those are that the person need to being a Muslim, and that Muslim need to reach to puberty, and then needs to be sane, so sanity. So being a Muslim reaching to the age of or to puberty, and then sanity needs to have a sane mind. So not a crazy, not a person who doesn't know what's going on. So those three things called the conditions of obligation means a person is not obligated to even pray if they do not meet those three conditions to start with. So a non-Muslim, they do not have to pray. A Muslim, but still a child, they're not, they didn't reach the age of puberty. They do not have to pray. They just get trained on how to pray so that when they reach to the age of puberty, it's not hard. It's not something that suddenly happens to them so that they are used to it. And sanity, a crazy person who doesn't know right from left or knows right from left, but actually is not, you know, mentally aware of what's going on. So have a damage with comprehending and so on. They're not obligated to pray. So obligation starts if a person meets those three: being a Muslim, reaching to the age of puberty, and sanity. If those are met, then before entering to the prayer, we have other conditions, which are the conditions of correctness, what they call it. Conditions of correctness means that a person needs to have those things met. Then, if they enter to the prayer, then the prayer is correct. Otherwise, the prayer is not correct. The first thing, I'm gonna probably start from the most detailed one, kind of to the least, kind of. So the first thing is body cleanliness. You need your body parts to be clean. And cleanliness has two things. The first thing is najasa in Arabic. Najasa probably can be written as Najas, or uh, uh, najis means not clean, which means najasa means filthiness, filth. So, for example, if a person has something on his body like some kind of um, poop or puke or pee or alcohols, drinking alcohol spilled on his body parts, needs to be cleaned first. So that's regarding najasa. But then we have another thing called al-hadath. And hadath in Arabic means occurrence. Something happened, hadath. But it also not only means occurrence, hadath. So the literal translation is hadath means occurrence, but it also means that you have done something that broke or prevented you from doing doing rituals, Islamic rituals. The hadith or the occurrence can be minor occurrence, mid-level occurrence, or major occurrence. It prevents you from. Okay. Um, Now, for a minor, I think it's a minor occurrence. For example, um, you have your wudu, your what is it called wudu in English? Wudu is when you wash your body parts preparing for the prayer. And if you, for example, go to the bathroom, if anything comes out from both of, as pee or poop, or even, farting, things like that, then or sleeping, like, I think heavy sleeping, because when you're asleep, you don't know what's happened. And I think also drinking alcohol. When this happens, you need to redo your ablution, your wudu. And if you do not have wudu, then you would not be able to pray. You would not be able to enter to the state of praying, saying Allahu Akbar and entering to the prayer itself, not to the mosque, just, standing and praying. If you do not have your ablution or wudu, or you have spoiled it, you cannot do tawaf. You cannot go around Al-Kaaba. And if you do not have your wudu or ablution, you cannot touch or carry the Quran, the Holy Quran. But you can still enter to the mosque. You can still read the Quran verbally, but you cannot carrying it. You cannot enter to the state of praying. Okay. Now that's for the wudu. Now there is another hadith, another occurrence, which is that if you need to do something called ghusl. Ghasala means to wash. Ghusl is when you need to have not only ablution or wudu, but you need to wash the entire body, your skin. Okay, so a bath, something like that. Um, and you need the wudu when an occurrence happens, but it's a mid or major. A mid or major occurrence is regarding, so before that, what cannot you do, you know, during a mid or major occurrence when you need ghusl is you cannot pray, you cannot read the Quran, you cannot say it, you cannot, say the things, say the words, say the letters. You can definitely look at it and read it with your mind, but you cannot recite it. So that's what reading means. You cannot touch or carry the Quran. You cannot do tawaf, and then you cannot stay in the mosque. Okay. Now for women, hold on, I'm not sure about that, so I'm not gonna say. Now, what makes an occurrence? What makes the mid and the major occurrence so that you need to wash your whole body? The thing that makes it is intercourse, the sexual relationship between a male and a female, so that they need to, after the intercourse, they need to have a bath. And it's not that a person now became filthy or became impure. It's just that this occurrence makes you not able to do the rituals. And that what happens to the Prophet Muhammad. So it's not something, is some people think, okay, because I need to wash, then I am impure. And that's totally opposite of what the Prophet Muhammad said. One time there was a companion that he came near to the Prophet, and then he didn't want to come really close, so he kind of hid behind a tree or a palm tree or behind a wall. So the Prophet saw him, alayhi salatu salam, and then he came after him and he caught him. He said, "Why you're hiding?" The companion told him, he said, "Because I am impure." So he needed to go and have a full wash. So the Prophet ﷺ told him, Subhanallah, a Muslim is never impure. So a person thinks because you need to take a wash for your entire body, that's okay, now I'm unpure. No, you're pure, but there are things related to the religion you cannot do in that state. So it's a state, but you're still pure. Okay. The other thing, so we said intercourse or a sexual relationship. Um, Another thing is um, orgasm or semen exit, or when a person is in his sleep and then wakes up and see that, okay, I'm wet or something like that. Something happened. Now the state changes. Now he needs to take a bath or she needs to take a bath. Another thing is death. So death also requires al-ghusl, but not for the person, but for the people around him to wash him, to prepare him before burying. Menstruation for women requires after the actual period is finished in the last day for her to wash, even before having an intercourse. Um, um, Postpartum, same thing. After birth, um, I think the blood after birth and giving birth. So those are the things that need from a person to have ghusl, to have washing before be able to pray, reading the Quran, touching or carrying the Quran, doing the tawaf, or staying in the mosque. Okay. So this is the first part, which is body cleanliness. That's the first condition, the first correctness, the condition of correctness before entering to pray. The second condition is covering of the body with a clean dress, clean clothes. For women, it's all the body except for the face and the palms, or the palms of the hands, or the hands, not the palms, the hands, I'm sorry. Um, there's difference between the palm and the hand. So for women, she needs to cover all her body except for the face and the hands. And for men, it's a little bit above the navel button level and a little bit under the knee. That's for men. So that's covering the body, as we said, with a clean dress or clothes. Now, the third condition is standing in a clean place. So when you're wanting to pray, the place you want to pray on need to be clean. And you can't pray anywhere. There's no like, I need to pray in the mosque. It has to be a certain place. No, a Muslim can pray anywhere. But that anywhere, that place need to be clean. So if the place is not clean, let's say we're praying in a place we cannot clean. It's not clean, it's filthy, and there are things on the ground. What should I do? That's why we use what we call it in Arabic sajjada. We call it in English prayer mat or prayer rug. It's to cover the filthiness of that place. So it covers the place of prostration. The place of prostration need to be clean, even if there are some filth or impurities or things underneath the prayer mat or the prayer rug. It's okay because it's underneath it. The prayer rug, the place you are prostrating on and standing on, need to be clean. So that's why we use the prayer rug or the prayer mat or the prayer rug. um The other thing, the other condition, so now we said one, two, three. The fourth condition is knowledge of entering of time. So for example, we are at night. We think that the morning is here. We think that is the time of the Fajr, and we start praying. And then it starts calling for the prayer. I need to redo my prayer. I need to have the knowledge that the time is in. Then I pray. So every prayer, I pray it because the time is in. I want to pray Dhuhr, okay? And if I pray it just because maybe it's in, and then it start calling, your prayer is incorrect. That's why it's called it the conditions of correctness. Means if those conditions are not met, then your prayer is not correct. So knowledge of entering of time. And uh, I don't know for new Muslims or for people who first time hearing this, maybe they will think that this is hard. This is overwhelming. It is if you keep thinking about it in um, without practice. If you practice it, it's very easy. Every Muslim, like 2 billion Muslim person are doing it every day, probably if they have this knowledge. But a lot of Muslims are doing it, and it's like a second nature. So you get used to it. So, be easy on yourself, slowly, slowly implementing things, and you'll see, okay, it's very easy. Um, so the fourth condition, as I said, is knowledge of entering of time, so that you want to pray Dhuhr, that time needs to be in. Then the fifth condition is that to direct myself towards the Qibla or the direction to the Qibla. Qibla is Kaaba, is Allah's house, which is in Mecca. Okay, um, which is now in Saudi Arabia, and it is like it's not it's now in Saudi Arabia. Before it was in Morocco. No, it's in Saudi Arabia. I'm just talking about the name. That now it's called Saudi Arabia, and there is where the Kaaba is. Now, regarding the Kaaba, um, you need to face the Qibla, and the Qibla, as I said, means the direction. Okay, where is that direction? It's towards the Kaaba. This, black uh, dressed cubicle building. That's Kaaba. Um, And the Qibla means the direction. I get directed to that place, to that building. So facing the Qibla, facing the Kaaba, happens with the arch of the face, which is the connecting line between the ears. It's the line that connects the ears. So from the ear to the ear, you know, going through the nose, that's the arch, that's the connecting line. So if the Qibla if you see the Qibla, if you see the Kaaba, I'm sorry, if you see the Kaaba, then you need to face it with your nose, as like connecting your nose with the actual Kaaba in a straight line. You do not deviate. And if you do not see it, if you do not see the Kaaba, then you direct yourself towards it. And directing yourself towards the Kaaba, towards the Qibla, you have an allowance of around 90 degrees. Means with your nose, which is in the middle of the arch, you need to, if you see the Kaaba, you need to, aim your nose towards the Kaaba. If you do not see the Kaaba, then what you need to do is to, face towards it. But now you have an allowance of 90 degrees, your nose being the center, and then 45 degrees from the left and 45 degrees from the right. And if you pray like that, not violating above like 46 degrees and so on, then you're totally fine if you're in that 90 degrees. Means let's imagine right now I'm standing, I'm facing the Qibla as far as my, research goes. And it turns out that the Qibla is, I deviated 20 degrees. So my nose is, let's say, to the right 20 degrees. It's okay because I'm not seeing the Kaaba. I'm not standing in front of it. I'm outside the building in Mecca, or I'm in the US, I'm in Egypt, I'm in Morocco, I'm in India, I'm in Russia, wherever. It's okay. As long as this shifting is not um, from the nose, it's not more than 45 degrees. So you have that allowance. Um, it's permissible also, it's worth noting that it's permissible to leave the Kaaba, to leave the Qibla, means not facing the Qibla in two situations, in two states. The first state or the first situation, if it's called extreme fear and battle. So in war, you're fighting, you're facing the enemy, and you know, you're giving your back to the Qibla or to the Kaaba because that's how the situation is. It's permissible for you to pray as you are. And it's also to the point, it's permissible, the scholar said that you do not even need to do the entire prayer in extreme fear in battle, in war. You could only say, for example, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and that's it. You have concluded your prayer. You have done it. Whatever you want to pray, for example, Dhuhr, you have done it. Asr, if you say that at that time, you have done it. So, in extreme fear, Qibla, directing myself to the Qibla is not a necessity. There is a permissibility that you can actually not face it. And in the second situation is an optionary prayer. We have obligatory prayers, the five daily prayers, and then we have optional prayers, optionary prayers. So if you are praying while traveling, and that's the exception, optionary prayer while traveling. Because as our Shaykh said to us that the Prophet ﷺ used to direct himself to the Qibla initially and then start the prayer. Then if the camel or whatever he was on, it turns itself against the Qibla, it's okay. So those are the actual conditions for prayers. The conditions need to be met, as I said before. It's a condition for the prayer, not in the prayer. Then we will, inshallah, in the next lesson talk about the pillars of the prayer. Pillars are inside of the prayer. Today we have talked about let me just summarize really quickly. Conditions of obligation, which are being a Muslim, reaching to puberty, and then being sane, sanity. And then we have conditions of correctness, which are body cleanness from filthiness and from occurrence. Filth, we need to wash the body part that has that filth on it. Occurrence, it depends. If it was a minor occurrence, then we need to do wudu. And wudu is very easy. The obligation of the wudu is by washing the face, then washing the hands to the elbows, not the hands, the arms to the elbows, and then wiping the hair or some of a hair with water, wiping, not washing, and then washing the actual feet until the bone, the two bones, I think. That's the wudu. Then we have a mid and a major. Um, occurrences, and then we do ghusl, we do full body washing. And then the second, so that's the first condition for prayer correctness is body cleanliness. The second condition is covering the body. The third condition is standing in a clean place. The fourth condition is knowing the entering of time. And the fourth condition is the direction towards the Qibla, or directing myself towards the Qibla. With that, we're done today. Do you have any questions regarding what we described and talked about? Okay, good. I mean, if you know that, that's perfect. Next lesson, inshallah, we will talk about the pillars of the prayer. Afterwards, we will talk about the Fatiha, inshallah. We'll explain it. And then we have maybe one more lesson, or maybe next lesson, and then the one afterwards, and then we will enter to the second stage. See you good and healthy and beautiful, inshallah, next lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.